Hey everybody, and welcome to part 2 of the Starcaster Strat series. In the last video, we talked about the history, the overview, where it came from, what it is, we looked under the hood to see what it has stock, etc. If you haven't watched that yet, go ahead and watch that. I'll be waiting for you here when you get back. But today, we're going to upgrade the hell out of it. We're going to install new pickups, we're going to install a new bridge, we're going to install all new parts, we're going to make it the nicest, best playing, and best sounding guitar that I own. So let's get started. Here are the parts that we're going to be installing today. Now I want to say here at the very beginning, this is going to be quite a long video. As you can see, we have a lot of parts to install. So if there's a particular section that you're interested in, go ahead and utilize the chapter features on this video to go to the section that's most applicable to you. Or if you're in for a marathon, watch the whole thing. That being said, let's take a look at what we've got. We've got Invader-style humbuckers. We've got some really interesting Invader-style single coils. We've got all gold everything. We've got a gold bridge, we've got a gold trem arm, gold string trees, gold locking tuners, gold screws, a really hilarious neck plate. I picked this because it reminds me of my dog. She's a little Shih Tzu, and she makes that face sometimes. What else we got here? Let's see. Oh, and I've got a mint green pickguard and a brass trem block. I've never used one of these before, but I've heard that it adds quite a bit of sustain and quite a bit of nice tone. So, let's get started. I figure we should start with the headstock and work our way down. So, we're going to install the gold locking tuners and the gold string trees. The first thing that we need to do in order to change these, obviously, is to remove the strings. So I'm going to do that now. There's no need to record that part. I'll be back when the strings have been removed. I got the strings out. So the first thing that you do when you are going to take tuners off or replace them is you're going to, in this style where you've got 6 screws going down, you just unscrew them and then you flip it over and you let go or loosen the nuts. So let's just do the top one first. So you just get here where the screw is and you unscrew it. Come on. There we go. These heads are sort of stripped, so I wonder if whoever owned this before had tightened them or something. Okay, so that screw is off. Flip it around. Make sure it's still in frame. It is. All right, and then you take, I got this here. This is a screwdriver from Music Nomad, and it's got on the end there. So we're gonna find the right size, probably 10 millimeters. Put it on there, and then you just loosen it like this. And it just comes out. There we go. There's your stock tuning machine. I'm going to do the other 5 and come back to you. I got the other 5 off. There you can see the imprints of where they used to be. Now we're going to install our Music Lily locking tuners. So here's one right here. These are supposed to be drop-in replacements, so let's see. So what you're going to do is you're going to line it up, and it fits, and it lines up with the screw hole. Perfect. So then you take your screw, and you screw it in. So let's do that. Okay, I'm not going to go too tight. And we're going to flip it over. Okay. So then what you do is you take a washer. It comes with one in the kit here. You slide it over. And then you take your bushing right here. You slide it down like this. Kind of get it started. And grab your trusty tool, tighten it down. You want it to be tight, but you don't want to make it too tight and risk breaking the wood. There we go, that's in and it's secure. Flip it around. Tighten that screw a little bit more. Okay. One last thing that you need to do when you're installing these tuners, it's not as important with locking tuners, but you want to make sure that this screw isn't too loose, because you don't want it to be too easy to turn. Right now, it's very, I mean, just barely touch it and it turns. So you want to go in there with your Phillips and you want to tighten it just a little bit. Make it a little bit more difficult to turn, because you don't want it turning when you don't want it to, do you? Yeah, that will do. All right. So that's how you install locking tuners on a Strat style. I'm going to install the other 5 and then we'll move to the string trees. Okay, we got the tuners on. I think they look great. I really like the way it turned out. They're all tight. They don't move at all. Very secure in there. Awesome. So let's do the string trees next. Now, string trees aren't a necessity, but I like them. I don't think it really robs the guitar of tone too much, and too often I've had buzzing and pinging going on because I didn't have these, and that could be because of the nut or any number of things, but I also don't like having holes in my guitar, so even if I just took these off, the holes would bother me. So we're going to install these little gold rollers. It's got little wheels on it that turn with the string. So just gonna pop those there. There's one. And it's literally the simplest thing ever to install. You just screw it in. So let's get that done right now. There we go. Get in there. Make sure that it's straight. There we go. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and get the other one done now. There we go. Headstock is done, and I think it looks fantastic. Really like the way that the gold turned out. We're not going to string it up till we have the new bridge installed, but I'll go over how to string these locking tuners later on. Now that we've got all the strings off, and as we're moving down the guitar, let's clean the neck. We've done this before in other videos, but I think it's helpful to show anyway. So when you clean the neck, get you some of this stuff, something similar. You get your cloth, and you're going to spray directly on the cloth, and you're going to clean. Don't want to spray directly on the wood. You want to spray on the cloth. This fretboard is very dirty from whoever owned it before, which is good. It means it was played. And I don't know about you, but I actually like and prefer a used guitar that's been played. Helps break it in a little bit so that you don't have to. And there's a lot of grime built up in here. You also got to kind of scrub it to get all that junk off of there. There we go. So I'm going to continue down the neck cleaning it. Now that we've got the neck cleaned, since we're moving our way down, the next logical thing would be the neck plate. So, to do that, it's pretty simple, really. Grab yourself a Phillips, and you just unscrew the neck. What I'm going to do is get one screw out completely and compare it to the replacement screws and see if they're the same length. I always worry that with replacement screws for these neck plates that you might accidentally go through the fretboard or something horrible like that. And these are some pretty substantial screws that they've used for this guitar, considering what it is. All right, now if we compare it to the replacements, let's see if I can get that in frame. Pretty much exactly the same length, exactly the same thickness. The head's a little smaller, but the rest of it's the same. So I'm going to get the rest of the screws off this neck plate, and then we'll set the new one. Okay, I got the old neck plate off. I got the new one right here. All you do to install this is put the 4 screws in. So I'm not going to bother doing that on camera. Pretty self-explanatory. Okay, we got it on, and it looks ridiculous, but not really in a bad way, in my opinion. If I zoom out, if it'll let me, it won't. Let me cut the camera and zoom out. So there you go. You've got your gold neck plate, your gold tuners. There's gold string trees. Looks pretty good. Let's do the strap buttons next. Time to do the strap buttons. Pretty basic right here. Just a gold strap button. We'll be replacing this one. Well, the one on the other side too. To do this, it's pretty simple as well. So far, pretty much if you can use a screwdriver, you can do all this. Very, very simple stuff. Only reason I'm showing it is I figured I might as well show you the whole thing. Now, I'm not going to show every single portion of every single part of this, obviously, but I'll at least show a little bit of each part. So that is out. Just a super long screw. Get that out of there. So here you go. Now the one they sent is a lot shorter. So I'm going to see if I have a gold one that looks like this. So I don't have a screw that's the same size but gold, so I'm going to just try it with the ones they gave me. Now there's this little piece of felt right here that goes on the bottom that kind of protects the finish. So you put that under the button. And we're just going to try this. I don't know if this screw is going to work, but we'll see. It's not going to cause a problem no matter what because it's skinnier. So it's not like it's going to strip out the hole. It just might not be as tight as is ideal here. Let's see how tight we can go. Yeah, it's just kind of spinning around in there. Well, that's unfortunate. I do have one that's a little bit thicker. This one right here. Maybe we'll try that. Yeah, this is just too loose. It's wiggling around in there. Now, this will widen the hole, which would mean I cannot go back, but I'm not sure that that's a bad thing. Oops. Let me just make sure that'll even go. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. All right, let's go in. Don't want to go too tight. That looks pretty good. Cool. I'll go do the other one now. We got the other one on, and I think it looks great. Okay, so next we need to do the bridge. We've removed bridges on this channel before, but I'd like to go over it again. So basically, you unscrew the 6 screws that hold in the bridge. So, like that, there's the first one. I'm going to remove the other 5 now. With all 6 screws removed, the only thing you have to do now is take the springs out, and then it'll just fall out. So, I mean, it's already fallen out, and the 6 springs just fell off like that. A lot easier than I expected. And when I take it, there we go. And we have got a removed bridge assembly with a very skinny block. Okay, before we work on the trem block, which we're going to install in the new bridge, let's see if the new bridge will line up with these holes. Just because we don't want to waste our time. So this is a fender bridge, by the way, stamped saddles, but it has a very thin block, which is why we bought the new one. And it lines up perfect. Awesome. Let's work on getting the new block installed. Okay, so here we go with the trem block. If you look at the difference between the sizes, it's pretty striking. This is made of brass. This is probably made of some sort of zinc or something, I'm not really sure. So what we're gonna do is open this up, and then we will go through how to switch the block. A good thing to do before you get started is, if your guitar is already intonated, you want to look at where the saddles positions are so that you can put them back there. You have to take the saddles off to put the new block on. So since this bridge is brand new, I'm going to have to re-intonate it anyway, but I'm getting a good shot here of where the saddles are so that when I go to put them back on, I can put them back where Fender had them from the factory. Probably not going to be ideal, but it's worth a try. So the first thing that you're going to do on this is take the saddles off. So let me try to get this in the frame. So what you do is you take your screwdriver and you just unscrew all the saddles. Now it may be tempting to just move the saddle to the side and, you know, just kind of pull them apart to get to these screws, but I don't recommend doing that. You could break the screw, you could add excess tension on the spring, you could add it, you know, there could be some problems if you do it that way. Okay, so I'm gonna get the rest of the saddles off. Now that we've got all the saddles off, I wanted to show one to you. So, see if I'll get it to focus. It says Fender. I love it. Hilariously enough, there are people who actually claim that stamped Fender saddles have a different tone than flat Fender saddles, which I think is kind of hilarious. Now, I could understand that being the case if they were comparing it to like a Squire Bullet Strat saddle, because the material is probably a little different. So obviously there will be a difference, but yeah, apparently those letters being stamped in makes a difference to the tone. I find that pretty funny. So now that we've got them off, you can see kind of what makes a bridge assembly for a Fender. It really is just 3 screws holding on this plate. So let's take those off. Being careful not to scratch them. Normally I would not care because it would be a used old bridge or something, but all of this stuff is brand new. If something happens to my body on the guitar while I'm doing this, it's one thing. It already has scuffing and stuff, but these parts don't. Okay, now it's off. Here's the plate. And here's the old block. I mean, the weight difference is unbelievable. So it looks about the same from the top, but when you flip it over, this is where the real difference is. I mean, this weighs like as much as a cue ball. This is pretty heavy. I don't see how that doesn't make a huge difference in tone. Okay, so we've got this block off. We need to install it, or install this new one. So what you do is you line up the holes. So let's line up the holes, and the holes line up perfectly on this. I've seen some reviews for this block on Amazon where I bought it, where they said the holes didn't line up, but I mean the holes line up pretty perfect. So once you get the holes lined up, all you have to do is screw it in. So I'm going to start with the middle screw because then I can rotate it either direction if I don't get it perfect. So let's get that in there. I'm not going to do it too tight because, like I said, I want to be able to rotate it where it needs to go. I'll tighten the hell out of it when I'm done. Second one. Now, I'm not sure you can over tighten this. If you're using a quality bridge that isn't made of like aluminum foil, you should be able to tighten it pretty good, and you want to. You want there to be absolutely no gap at all between the block and the bridge, because that transfer of vibrations is very important. Okay, there we go. It's on. It is a lot. Wow, look at that. That just looks great. So we're going to put the saddles back on now. We'll just do one at a time here. Okay, so to do that, take your saddle, take your screw, take your spring. You want to take your screw and you want to put it through. You want to put your spring on the screw, and then you want to take the saddle and you want to push it until it meets here. Okay, you can start it with your hand. And then you're going to take your screwdriver and you're going to tighten it. And for the purposes of getting it installed, I'm just going to tighten it enough to where, just about like that, until we get them all on, and then I'll adjust the actual positioning to try to make it match what the factory had it at. I got them all on. And I realized that the previous bridge was intonated decently well, so what I'm going to do is just try to match the saddles between these two. I think that'll give me a good base to start with. So let's start with this outside one here and try to make it match. Well, it doesn't help when you knock it over. That looks about the same right there. So I'm going to follow that for the rest of the saddles. I've now got them pretty much the same, the saddles. So now let's install it in the guitar. Got the guitar back up on the bench. So we're going to take the new bridge and slide it in there. See if we can get it to line up with these holes. Come on. So it looks like we might have an issue here with the cutout here for the trim. If I compare it to this one, it looks like it's the same width, but for whatever reason, it doesn't want to go in. And it could be because, I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. If I put this in, let's see. Okay, that fits in there, all right? Try this one again. Yeah, I don't understand why. It's like it's misaligned or something. That is not great news. I think I might have a solution, and I can show you what happened. Let me adjust the camera, or at least let me pick this up and show you so you can see. Okay, so you see how there's like a little notch here? That's our problem. So this is wide enough, but this isn't. And I don't know why they did that. You can see that it's two pieces, the body. And so what I'm going to guess is that they just saved 2 cents and didn't cut this part. So I'm going to file that. I don't own a chisel, so what I'm doing is I'm taking a flathead screwdriver and a wooden mallet. And I'm just, or rubber mallet, not wooden mallet. And I'm just hammering it like that. Being as careful as I can be. Don't want to go too far. Cause a problem. Okay, so I've done it from the top, and now I need to do it from the back. So let's flip it over. That's still in frame. Nope, let's move this so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. So we need to do it from, looks like we can't really do it from this angle though. That's unfortunate. Okay. Well, let's flip her back around. Let's see what we can do here. I think it's working. I hate doing this kind of thing, but you gotta do what you gotta do, right? It's just about free. So let's take a blade, which I've got right here. And let's see if we can, that blade's too thick. I've got a skinnier blade laying around here somewhere. I just had it. There it is. Let's see if we can get that out. Yeah, it's not quite there yet. I'm gonna get my other flathead screwdriver that's all one piece and go from there. I think we might have success on this. If we look, it is now a uniform hole. I mean, it kind of did a number on the wood back here. I mean, it just chipped that piece off. It'll probably cover with the Pickguard or the rear cover. I don't know. It won't totally cover it, but mostly, it will mostly. Moral of the story, don't do it the way I just did it. I'm not upset about it. Like I said earlier, this is a relict guitar already. I mean, look at that. So I don't care about this. It's on the back, whatever. The tremolo will fit. That's not going to affect the tone or the functionality. And it's just a boo-boo that I'll always remember. And that, yeah. Anyway, so let's get the bridge installed. Yeah, it took a good chunk out. Maybe I'll keep it forever so that I'll always remember. Just kidding. Let's see if it fits. Oh, isn't it just wonderful when things work out? Fits perfectly. Okay, now we've gone over this 100,000 times before, but we're going to go over it again because this is a complete install video. When you install these screws in your bridge, do not tighten them all the way, please. Do not tighten them all the way because you have to allow the bridge to rock. So I can't use... Yeah, you have to allow the bridge to rock. If you tighten it all the way, you're effectively hardtailing it, which is fine. Some people want a hardtail. That is totally fine. But if you want to use your tremolo system, you've got to leave some slack in the screws. Unfortunately, the gold screws that I have are too thick. So I have to use the originals, which are silver, and that's kind of a bummer, but that's okay. You'll probably hardly be able to tell. So let's get them put in here. Let me do this. Leave a little bit of a gap. Make sure it can still move. And it can. Now some of you might say, hey man, what the hell are you doing? You just put a gigantic ass brass block in there. Why would you not want to hardtail down or block the trem so that you get all that sustain? Well, for me, I actually use the trem system, and I enjoy it. I enjoy using it. And even though it has a big fat block, I mean, it's not going to move much. I mean, look at that. There's not that much space. But I want it to move enough that it's usable. You know, I want it to move enough that I can do a little bit of stuff with it. If it ends up being impossible, then I won't. It's that simple. If it ends up being impossible where it just doesn't want to move, then too bad, so sad. I should have gotten a skinnier block. But, and I'll have so much sustain because I'll have this tightened down. Okay, so general rule of thumb when you're doing this is your outer screws are kind of your, it's like a two-post, if you're familiar with a two-post, how that works. And then your inner screws aren't quite as important, so they're going to be a little higher. They're really there for if the outer screws can't bear all that weight or all that tension. And so instead of it ripping the wood out of the guitar, it'll go to that next path. That next path being these other screws that we're installing here, slightly higher than the outer screws. And again, we're not going to tighten them all the way. We're going to tighten them just, so there's just a little gap. Okay. And it's still, you can still move it. I mean, look, there's really hardly any room in here. That's okay, though. All right, next. Oh, and the other problem I'm having is that it's rubbing right here. So I might need to go in there and kind of chisel out a little bit more to get it so that it works. And there you can see it better. Let's go ahead now and put in the springs. Now this guitar came with 3, and I noticed that the strings actually were tight enough that it was making the bridge float. I don't like a floating bridge. So what we're going to do is probably put 5, and then I can take them out if I need to. So to do that, you just loop it around, and then just pop it down in there. Come on. So I'm going to get the rest of these in. Now that we've got the springs in there, we're going to try this trem arm that we got from Wilkinson. Make sure that it fits. Let's see. And it does. I mean, it's a tight fit, but it does fit. I don't want to break it. There we go. Yeah, that'll work. Look at that. That gives me just enough to be able to do some fun stuff right there. Okay. We're getting there. Next thing we're going to do is the jack plate. And after that, everything will be done except for the pickguard and the pickups. So here's the jack plate. And I believe it came with some screws. It did. Now, the input jack on this guitar is totally fine, so I'm not going to use the jack assembly that it came with. I'm just going to move this one. So hopefully we have enough slack to be able to move it over to the new plate. Now, be careful not to scratch it. You take that off. And then, whoa! It flew off. Let's see how much slack we have. Oh, I think we got enough slack. Yeah, we do. All right, so to take this off, let's see if I've got, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get it with this because it's at an angle. These are usually just finger tight. They should be very tight, but with these older instruments sometimes. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get one of these sockets, and then we should be able to just use our hand to turn it. Well, it's not going to fit. So, see, this is the adaptability factor here. You can also just use some needle nose pliers. And you just grab it on the outside here and turn it. There we go. That easy. Now you can just use your hand, spin it around till it comes off. Okay, almost got it. There we go. It's off. Okay. And then on this one's already finger loose. So I'm just gonna take the jack off. The good thing about these kits, if it has extra parts that you don't need, you can save them for later. Okay. There we go. So grab your jack, push it up through your plate, stick your washer on, stick your nut on, tighten it by hand first. In fact, tighten it by hand, screw it in, and then you can tighten it further. If you're like me and you don't have all the exact proper tools that you need. There we go. Now, I'm going to take back what I just said. So when you turn this, it's going to also turn the jack. So you want to have a good hold of it before you tighten it. Otherwise, it'll just spin around in there, and that's not good. You could end up breaking off your cable or breaking off your ground or something, and then you have all kinds of problems. That looks pretty good. Feels pretty good too. There we go. And then the last thing you do, obviously, is screw it in. So let's get these open. Here's the first one. We're gonna pop it on like that. You'll notice I switched screwdrivers. This one is a little easier to use because I can, do it like this. The other one, you can't do that. It is made for guitar work, though. Okay, so there's that. I'm not going to tighten, again, when I'm doing this kind of stuff, I don't tighten anything all the way until it's exactly positioned the way I want it. Because you're going to mess up the integrity of your parts if you keep applying tension and then removing it. So it's not an exact fit, but I think it'll do. Okay, there we go. Put it over here. Again, it's not an exact fit, but you can really hardly tell. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Now it's time for the main event, the pickups. So the first set of pickups I have here, this is a set of Invader style single coils. Isn't that cool? Now if you bought these from Seymour Duncan, they'd be about $300, and I got these for $10. So we'll see how they are. And then I've got some from the same place for about, I think it was $10 for these too. These aren't real Invaders, but they are similar. From what I understand, they're made to the same specifications, and they should be very similar. So let's be careful that we don't damage them. So these are stamped N for neck, so we're not going to use that one. Put that one to the side. And then we have the bridge. Pretty cool, huh? Now, these pole pieces here don't match the pole pieces on the single coils I'm going to use. So what I'm going to do is take the bridge pickups magnets off and see if they'll fit onto the cream part of this humbucker. And if it does, it'll match. So let me find an Allen tip and get started on that. I found one that fits, so let's take one out. Let's just do one. Okay, there's one. And I'm going to take one of these out. See if I can get it out easily here. Let's hope they're the same size. It uses the same size Allen head, so I would assume that it will work. I would assume they'll be the same size, but I don't know. Yeah, they're the same. One is the silver's a little longer though, so I'll have to be mindful of that, but see if I can get that in there. I don't want to damage it though. Let's see. I don't know if that's gonna work. Let's see if I apply some downward pressure, if I can get it to go down. Yeah, it won't go in. I take this and put it. So the problem is, I think that the silver one is skinnier, ever so slightly, and because of that, it can't really thread down. Like it won't. I can't get it to go any farther down. So, unfortunately, this really stinks, but unfortunately, I think I have to keep these black, which I really didn't want to do, but I don't think I'm going to have a choice on this. So if we put this back, now the good thing is I've discovered, I think that these single coils are wax potted. What that means is they've been coated or dipped in wax, which will help seal the sound in and prevent feedback and squealing that you get with pickups, high output especially. This I can't really tell. I don't think this is wax potted, which means it's probably going to be a little microphonic, but that's okay. So if I set this aside, if I pull out these two pickups, we can kind of set them together, see what they're going to look like. So there's one. There's another one. I think that'll look okay. I really wish I could have got the chrome magnets or chrome screws on the humbucker, but it's not the end of the world. It'll be okay. So now that we've got those out, let's kind of talk about what the plan is. So what we're going to do is we're going to install this. This is a push-pull. So essentially how this is going to work is this humbucker is going to get wired into this push-pull. And when I pull it up, it's going to be a single coil. And when I push it down, it's going to be a humbucker. So we don't lose the functionality of single coil in the bridge position. So let's go ahead and get the Strat back up here on the bench, and we will take the pickguard off. I got all the screws removed from the pickguard. Since we're going to be swapping to a new pickguard and keeping most of these electronics, we're going to keep these two pots and this switch. We need to take the knobs off, and we need to take the switch tip off so that we can get that done. So basically with this, you just pull it off. In fact, this didn't even come with the guitar. I had this, so I put that on when it came. These need to come off now, and sometimes you just got to give it a pull. And if it won't come off, then you need to get something and stick it underneath to get it to come out. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. You can use, like, this is a scrap of a string from when I pulled the strings off. So I'm going to just put this underneath there and just kind of pull up. If I can get it. This string piece might be too thin. I might need a thicker one. Yeah, that's not going to work. I need more leverage. So I'm going to use one of my radius gauges. Stick it underneath if you can get it in there, like that. And then just kind of pry it. You got to be careful though, because you don't want to break the shaft. Okay, so I got the knob off there. This knob is next. So you kind of want to lean it back as you pop your straight edge, or whatever you want to call this, under. So this one's just about free. There we go. That's out. And then this is the last one. There we go. And it's coming. There we go. So those are all off. So now when we take these off, it'll just be a matter of loosening these, and then they should just drop right out. This is attached by 2 screws. Undo these 2 screws, and that'll just fall down. The pickups, you just unscrew them and they fall out. So let's pull the pickguard up now. Hopefully we've got enough play to be able to rotate it and lay it flat. So usually you just rotate it like that. And don't know if we're gonna have enough room to do this. Yeah, we do. I just need to move things a little bit. There we go. There. Okay. We can get a better look at what's going on here. Let me move the camera up a little. Okay. I'm actually going to stop the video now so I can zoom out. Okay, I wish I could zoom out while the camera was rolling. Okay, so as we look down here, this is the volume pot that we're going to replace. We're going to replace that with this. And so that'll go in there. So first thing we need to do is take these pickups out, which I think are stock. So let's see. If we look here, we've got, so it looks like we've got the neck, the middle, the bridge. So the bridge goes at the end. That'll be good to remember. So I'm going to snip those. So you want to snip it at the end. There we go. That's off. And then we're going to snip off the ground right here. There we go. That one's free. And then we're going to do that for the middle. Snip off at the switch. Then snip off the ground. Okay, ground is off. That one's free. And then we're going to do the bridge. Again, snip off at the switch. And then you're going to snip off the ground. There we go. Now the pickups are free. Now, if we look here at what we've got going on at the volume, so basically you've got one wire going to the switch. You've got one going to the jack. So this white one right here, if you can see that, that one is going to control the volume. So you can turn it down, and it turns down the signal coming from the input jack. And then you've got a ground. Then you've got the ground coming from the other pot. So we need to snip all those. So first, we're going to snip this one. Okay. And then we're going to snip the ground. And we're going to snip this ground. Okay. And then we're going to snip this volume control. All right. So this pot is free, and these are all free. So now we're going to take all of this stuff that we're going to use, which is essentially just these 3 things, and we're going to attach them to the new pickguard. So let's do that. I've decided that it would probably make more sense to attach the new pickups before we put the electronics in. So let's do that. It's very easy. You just fit it in like that. And then you take your screw, which I've got right here, and you put the screw through, and then you got to make sure there's a spring on there. So instead of springs, I absolutely love to use these things. These are by Fender. They're like these little rubber things. My goodness, they're so much easier to use than springs. Don't know if you've ever installed a pickup before, but if you have, you know the pain of those springs. So we're going to use these instead. When you try to use the springs, they kind of fly everywhere. You'll be trying to install it and it'll fly off and you can't get it lined up properly. So let's use these. I'm going to move the camera so you can see a little better what I'm doing. There we go. So what you do is you take your screw and you want to push it through your pick guard like that, and you put your spring, in this case we're going to use this tubing, and then you push it through your pickup. Couldn't be simpler. That's it. So I'm going to do that on the other side, and then I'm going to do it for the other single coil. Okay, there was no diagram or schematic on how the Invader humbucker is supposed to go in, but if it follows Seymour Duncan, it should go like this. So I'm going to put that there, and then I screw it in just the same way that we did the other two. Okay, so we got them in. I think it looks pretty good. It's going to look great. So now I just need to take the pots off of this pick guard and the switch and put them on this one. Like I said before, this is relatively simple. It's a matter of taking these two screws out for the switch, and then there's going to be a nut on this side here. If I flip it over, you can see it. Right here. There's a nut here, there's a nut here. Let's do that part now. Probably 10 millimeters. Yep. Very, very easy. That's off. And there's a washer. Do that on this side too. Okay, that's off. And they should just pop out. There we go. They are out. Man, these have been in here for so long, almost 20 years, that they're stuck. There we go. Okay, those two are out. And I'm being delicate on purpose because I don't want to break anything. So I'm not, being very forceful with this. Okay, next we are going to get the screwdriver and we're going to unscrew the switch. Just undo it like that. There's one side. And there we go, other side. And that'll come right out too. And if I did everything correctly, there we go. So I'm going to stop the camera now and grab my gold screws. I have the new pick guard here. So we just do exactly what we just did, but in the opposite order. First we put the washer, then we put the nut, and we tighten it. There we go. Same thing again here. You put the washer, and you put the nut. Tighten it. Come on. Meeting some resistance back here. Oh, it looks like it's got one of those. I hate this. So some of these pots have these little nubs sticking up that kind of locks them in place. It's very frustrating when that happens because most aftermarket pick guards are not going to have the little slot for that to go in. So it ends up making your knobs a little crooked. Oh well, whatever. Let's go ahead now and put the switch in. Okay, there's that. I have some gold screws to use for this part here. Should just push through. There we go. There's one. Grab the other. Push it through. It should line up perfectly here. Normally they use much longer screws for the switch. So I'm kind of surprised to see that they used such short screws for this. That's okay. It's not the end of the world. All right, that's tight. That's tight. All right, we're getting there. Now we need to put the new volume pot on. Got the new pot here, and it's the same deal as what we just did. So you put the washer first, then you put the nut, and I know you can't see this, and I'm sorry that you can't see this. My hand's in the way, but I have to kind of hold it in place to make sure that it lines up. There we go. Okay, now this is a very long shaft, but that's okay. Okay, so that's in. Everything on the top is complete. Now we just need to solder in the pickups. Okay, it's time to do some soldering. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to solder the switch right here. We're going to solder it to this lug. So let's see. Let's get my solder out. Soldering iron is currently heating up. Just bought this solder, so hopefully it's enough. If it isn't, I have some extra. It's not my favorite kind, but it'll work. Can't see, but I'm getting the solder ready. Here it is. All right. Get the iron out. Kind of got it ready there. And since it's pre-soldered, the cable anyway, it should go right in. So I've pushed it through. All I should have to do now, once I get it in there, is melt the pre-tipped wire and the solder that's in there together. And I recently got something that's going to be very helpful here. It's called Helping Hands. It's a little, got clips. Forgot to set this up, so I'm going to go ahead and set this up right now. So basically you put it where you want it, and come on, and it helps hold it in place. There we go. We've lost our focus. There we go. So now it's being held in place. So this should be pretty simple at this point. Let's get it. There we go. I also accidentally joined these two, so I'm just going to use these snips and snip that off. Okay. And it looks like it came a little loose, so we're gonna apply some solder to the other side. So I'm gonna put solder right here. We got all the pickups and the humbucker soldered in, so now it's time to put the screws on. We got the screws back on, the pickguard is on, and now the only thing left to do is string it up. It looks awesome. I suppose it could use a polish too. So before we go any further, I just want to apologize. I don't know what it is about the camera, but when I'm on camera, my soldering skills go down to 0. I don't know what it is about it, but every time I try to solder while I'm on camera or while I'm videoing it, it does not go well. So I really want to sincerely apologize that that was not captured on tape, or on the tape, on the phone camera. I want to apologize for that. I was able to get it done successfully. It took 2.5 hours. I want to explain real quick what I did. So basically with a push-pull pot, you take your coil splitting wires, which are usually wrapped together, and you put those in the middle, and then you take your ground and you put that to the ground. So basically the way it works is when you pull the switch up, it grounds out half of the humbucker and it gives you only one coil. And when you push it back down, it just disregards the whole push-pull mechanism and it gives you the full humbucker. So that's the way that I wired it, and then I wired all the pickups back exactly the way that they were. So you didn't really miss anything. If you saw how it looked when I opened it, that's the way it looks now. The only difference is I replaced the volume pot with the push-pull. So now that we got that out of the way, we can continue with the video. But I had to stop it here and just apologize for that. Let's put some strings on and talk about locking tuners. I've relocated to my basement. It's getting very late, and I've actually got the baby monitor here. I'm on daddy duty right now, so I'm here in the basement in case my baby needs me. I can run up and take care of her. So instead of a workbench, we're just going to use the top of the guitar case. Again, adaptability. You do the work where you can do it. So we're going to go ahead and put some strings on here now, and I wanted to talk about locking tuners and how to do it properly. So we've got our Fender 10s, as you know I like those. So mostly it's the same as it is with non-locking tuners. There's just one major difference. So let's get these all separated here. Okay, so we're going to start with the 6th string. That would be the brass ball. So that would be this one right here. Alright, so the way that you do this is, like I said, it's pretty much the same as regular. The only difference is once you get up to the tuning head. So, feed this through. Okay, and once you got that through, you're going to bring it down here, and then you're going to put it through the tuning machine head. You can see it's too tight, I think. Let's loosen it. So first thing you do is you make sure that the wheel on the back is loose so that you can get the string through. So it is loose. Now the string will go through. Great. Okay. Pull it as tight as you can and turn it, but you don't want to turn it too much because you might split and cut the string. And you just pull it like that. It's literally that simple. I'll show you the back here to show you exactly what I've just done. So right here, these loosen and tighten. When you tighten it, effectively what you're doing is you're closing the hole in the machine head. Keeps it from slipping. You don't want to do it too tight because then, like I said, you could snap it. So that's literally it. You put it through and you tighten it and then you tune it up. So I'm gonna do the rest of the strings now. Now it's all strung up and tuned up. Take a look at that. Only a couple more things left to do here. I wanted to show you a little trick that I learned for making sure that your neck is securely on your guitar. So once you have your guitar all tuned up and once you have everything set the way that you like, the next thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna take your screwdriver and on your neck plate, you're going to unscrew these about 1/2 to 1/4 of a turn each until you hear a crack. I know that sounds bad, but I'll explain why in a minute. There's a 1/4. Here's a 1/4. Here's a 1/4. Here's a 1/4. Now you didn't hear it, but I did. There was a little bit of a So what you're doing here essentially is you're making sure that your neck is as flush with the body as it can be, and you're using the strings to help keep it as tight against the body as it can be. And the way that you achieve that is by loosening them while the strings are on, and the strings will pull the neck down. Once you have loosened, you're going to tune it back to pitch. So it did go down about part of a step, maybe 1/2 a step. Some of these strings stayed the same, which means that we already had an ideal amount of tension. So once you've tuned it, then you tighten it again. So you tighten it back the same way. So tighten, 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 tighten. Okay, and then we're going to tune it again. Now it's a little sharp, which makes sense. I mean, listen to how that sounds. That's that brass block. Well, enough playing around. Let's follow what we did in the last video. I'm going to use this amp right here, and we're going to get a sound from the open air, just in the room, to hear what it sounds like plugged into a combo amp. After that, we're going to do a direct comparison to stock. I took some videos and audio of stock, plugged into my half stack out in the garage, which is sort of working again. And we're going to compare it back to back. Exact same settings for both to see the difference that the pickups make. And then at the end, we will do a jam, which is the best part. So, see you in a sec. Okay, let's fire it up. Amps on. This is a clean sound on the neck. Very big sound. It sounds awesome. Okay, that sounds great. Let's see. Let's try this position. Middle. Very funky. Alright, now it's time for the humbucker. Wow, that sounds crazy. Like, that sounds overdriven. This is a clean setting, by the way. sounds overdriven because of how hot this is. Wow. Let's try the coil tap or coil split. That's awesome. Now I've got a single coil. That's great. I love the fact that I can do that. I've never had a push-pull. I always wanted one, and now I do. I love it. First impressions are great. So far, all these positions sound really good and a lot better than stock. So let's switch it to something with some overdrive and reverb. Man, that just sustains forever, and I think it's because of this brass block. I absolutely love if you could see my face right now, I'm just like, I'm blown away at how good this sounds. And I don't know if it's the block, the pickups, the rolling trees, the locking tuners, the whole thing. I have no clue, but holy cow, this is like, it's crazy, and it looks awesome too. Damn. All right, let's see what this Invader can do. This is unbelievable. Like, I don't even know how to explain how I feel about this. I hope it sounds as good on the camera as it does to me right now. And this is with a little combo amp that I got for less than $30 online. I can't wait to see what it sounds like with the half stack. Wow, okay. Well, let's put it on that crazy setting that we used on the other video with the stock. This is just insane. I don't even know. It shouldn't sound this good. I don't even know what to say at this point. Let's put it on one more setting. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Wow. That's crazy. I'm having trouble, like, I don't script my videos, and I don't read off of anything. I just kind of tell you how I feel as I go. And I wanted to make sure to capture this immediately after that sample that we just did because of the way that I feel about this. I'm used to, when I do these kind of things, it's like, yeah, that sounded pretty good. Like, that sounded better than it did before. Like the Mustang sitting over there. That was the very first video that I did on this channel. It inspired me to create this channel because I am not a pro. I'm not a luthier. I'm not a guitar tech. I'm just a dude who, you know, I'm a husband and a father, and this is what I do for fun. And I thought it would be a good idea to start a YouTube channel to, you know, when I play my music and when I upgrade my gear and when I, you know, do stuff like this, I can show you how I did it. You can learn with me. I'm not an expert. Like that horrible experience I had with using the screwdriver with the mallet, like that was hilarious. It was hilariously bad, hilarious failure that I'll never forget. I'm sure many of you that saw that part were like, "Oh my God, what the hell is he doing?" And it didn't work out for me. But to have everything come together like this, the way that this guitar sounds is unbelievable. I don't know if it's, like I said, I don't know if it's the pickups, I don't know if it's the string trees, I don't know if it's the locking tuners, the bridge, the block, I don't know. I don't know what it is that makes it sound the way that it does, but I have this feeling that it shouldn't sound as good as it does. If I picked this guitar up off the shelf and it sounded like this, and felt like this, I would expect that it cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Many of you right now are probably rolling your eyes. I understand. But this is about my personal journey with this guitar. This is about how I feel about it. This is about the mods that we did today. And when I plug it into this little amp down here and have it, I mean, the volume was at like 4, maybe 3, because I can't be too loud right now. And it sounded that good. I just don't understand. I mean, you'd think that you would have seen videos about these single coils, and I found 1, maybe 2 videos on all of YouTube about these pickups. I want to give a shout out to Juanter. He did do a video on them, and he did a good job and showed that they weren't total crap. And so I want to give him a shout out. But I buy them. Buy them right now. If you look up on eBay single coil invaders, they'll show up. Buy them because they are amazing. I'm sure that the bridge position one sounds amazing too. Even though I use the humbucker. And the humbucker, there's like so many listings for those invaders, invader style. I wouldn't pay $100 for a real invader at this point, and maybe I will later down the road, but for right now, I'm just blown away by how it sounds and how it feels and everything else. And I'm basically putting all of what I'd normally put it in outro in this section, only because of the shell shock that I feel, and it's a good feeling. I'm very proud of the way that it turned out, and I hope that you are too. What we're going to do now is a comparison between this guitar, now that it's completed, with how it was stock. Before I started all this, I did do some videos and some audio recordings of the stock settings. Stock pickups, I should say, stock everything. And I'm going to use the exact same volume, exact same microphones, exact same pedals, exact same everything. Nothing's going to be different. And we're going to do a back-to-back to see how much of a difference there is. And there may not be a point to doing that because we changed so much that it's basically not the same guitar anymore. But let's go back out to the garage and let's go ahead and record this new one, and let's put them back to back. So I think there was a very clear difference there. The articulation on the notes is greater. It has more bass, but it also has more treble. And the best part about that is those tone controls allow you to cut that treble. So if the treble's too much, you can just cut it back a little bit. It's the most versatile instrument that I own, and I own a lot. You can see them back there behind me. I've got Floyd Roses, I've got Les Pauls, I have too many Strats, tons of Squires. I have a Telecaster, a Mustang, I had that IYV that we did a video on. This is the best of the bunch now. Starcaster by Fender is such a weird instrument, and this has been a very fun video for me to make. One last note that I want to make here, where I'm sitting right now. So I bought this house with my wife back over the summer, and when we were doing our showing for the house, the previous owner was a guitarist, and he enjoyed, playing and working on pickups and stuff. There was a red Starcaster sitting in the basement, literally where I'm sitting right now, in a stand. And that kind of reignited that fire for me to find one. And now I have. Now it's the best guitar that I own. On a final note here, if you find one, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, Reverb, eBay, Guitar Center, your local shop, pawn shop, wherever, and it's less than $200, buy it right away, if it's a full size. I am so happy with it. I was happy with it stock. I'm even more happy with it now. It's the kind of guitar that you can buy and it can grow with you. Now, I grew with it in 48 hours, but you can grow with it for a long time. You can leave it stock and enjoy it. It's a Strat. It sounds like a Strat, feels like a Strat, has a big fat radius neck. It's great. It's super weird, super goofy, and you can make some great sounds with it. And if you want to upgrade it, you can. You can put whatever you want in there. You could take a wood router to it if you wanted to, and put 2 humbuckers in it, maybe even 3 if you had a custom pickguard. It's great. It's great. There was a Affinity a standard Stratocaster Squire at my local pawn shop. It had a 2-point tremolo, full-size body, and I almost bought that one, but I didn't because I found this. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who stuck through this video, even if you only watched a couple parts of it, one part of it, just this part. I appreciate all of you. I do this for fun, and I do this for you. So thank you again. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, and there will definitely be more. Thank you again. Have a good rest of your day.